Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Big Blue Doo 97 here, coming at you with another manga review for My Hero Academia. This time, manga chapter 278, titled Walking Disaster. And let me just say this, the Walking Disaster is going to be Gigantomachia. Because frankly, when you have someone who we learn in this chapter that is confirmed to be taller than a mountain lady, he is a walking disaster. And with that, we also get more focus on the students in this chapter, particularly Best Girl Momo. As well as we get a fair amount of fights in this chapter. They're not full out fights, but they're a decent amount of fights. At the very least, cool confrontations between heroes that we know, as well as the potential death of a certain hero. Who could it be? We'll just have to find out. Let's get right into it. So we start off this chapter with Jiro and the other students learning about what is going on in the direction of the manor of the mansion where the villains are. And as well as that, we get to see the other students who were like at the mansion, who were very vital in helping take down a lot of like the common villains in that mansion, where we see Kaminari, he's back. We see She-Mage and Mudman, and they come back just in the nick of time to learn that something went down as soon as they left. And now the pro heroes, they understand what's going on. Jiro says something huge is coming their way. The heroes leave until the students are like, okay guys, stay here. We're going to leave. Don't do anything stupid. So this just shows that in this chapter is going to be a large focus on the students. And even with Mineta, he's like, I guess the heroes are uniting for some kind of reason. I wonder why they're uniting. And immediately after that, we get the title for this chapter, which is The Walking Disaster. And then we see Mount Lady trying to hold back Gigantomachia. Emphasis on the word trying, because spoiler, she is not successful in the slightest. Like from later on in this chapter, we learn that Gigantomachia is just so powerful and so strong that even when Mount Lady was pushing on him and trying to stop him, it's not successful. And even with this panel, it shows that Gigantomachia is just running forward, running towards his master. Mount Lady is trying to hold him back to no success. And from here, we get more of a perspective on the villains, particularly the main heads of the Paranormal Liberation Front, as well as like the members that we actually care about from the League of Villains. So we have Compress and Spinner, who are like, yo, this is weird, he just grabbed me out of nowhere. And then Dabi and Toga chime in with like, oh yeah, he's probably going towards Shigaraki. Yeah, he really woke up like early this time. So they're all just talking about like what's going on, what the plan is gonna be. But then you have Skeptic, who's like, why did you grab me? Why am I with y'all? I don't give a shiznit about y'all. I just want to help read Destro. And just Dabi being Dabi, just like, yo, shut up. Like, you have a reason here. Like, I brought you here for a reason, so just shut up and wait. And from this moment of cutting from the villains, trying to like understand what is going on, we also get Gigantomachia. As I said, he's gonna go towards his master. His master is waiting for him. And then from here, we get the drop of the title, supposedly. Because these are scanlations and not the official translations, I cannot say for certain that this is where they drop the name of the title, where they call Gigantomachia. We see a lot of these heroes heading in the direction of Gigantomachia, and some of them are remembering like the disaster that happened at the mountain and how Gigantomachia is considered a walking disaster. So title drop in this chapter. Like I said, whenever the title is dropped in a chapter, I'm going to call it out. Yeah. So they dropped the name of the title in this chapter, and also tying into the fact that a walking disaster refers to Gigantomachia. And while these heroes are like trying to fight him, they realize, hey, we can't really do nothing to him. His skin is too tough, but let's support Mount Lady. And Gigan just comes in, uses his eyes, just blast these heroes away like they're nothing. And he's just like, oh gosh, this is just such a complete mess. Oh, gotta deal with these heroes. I need to help read Destro. Gigantomachia is on like a rampage. Could this possibly get any worse? So as Gigan is trying to like prevent the heroes from helping out Mount Lady, we get probably Cementos in his best scene in the series so far, where he takes the cement and like the ground around him, sends it up into the air where Gen is, and he is like beginning to like entrap him in this like dome of clay and cement, as he yells out that to these other heroes that because they're heroes they should be putting their necks on the line, as he has this like mean expression, like showing that he's pushing himself to the limit. So it's a cool scene where we see Cementos fighting Gen, so potentially there's going to be a fight between them. And let me just say, I cannot wait for this chapter to actually be animated with all of the fights and confrontations that we have in this chapter. And speaking of another confrontation in Redestro, we cut over to Redestro where he's fighting off the number 3, 4 hero Edgeshot, where Edgeshot just comes to realization like, yeah, no, this isn't what I was really hoping for. Like, I don't know even like how this happened. So we see Edgeshot fighting off Redestro, as Redestro is like in his like 80%, 100% stressed out form, and he's coming to this realization that, Gigantomachia is active. Shigaraki must be awake then. So from here, we see that he calls out all of the rest of the villains, the rest of the people that he calls liberators. Basically what he says is like, okay guys, it is time for a revolution. Go after Gigantomachia, back him up. Shigaraki is awake. It's our time now. And he basically commands these liberators, or the liberation soldiers, to go after Gigantomachia and to back him up. So, you know, this ties into something that happens later on in the chapter, which means at this moment, all I can really say to Redestro is, fuck you. Fuck you for what you just did, because you might have killed one of my, a character that is, very crucial to the story, and I really like this character, and from what we see in the next 3 pages, potentially this person has died. But before we get into that, let's look at the contestants that this could be applying to, because right now, we get a scene of a certain individual and a certain lady, heading towards, Gigantomachia. Who could these people possibly be? I don't know. I didn't read this chapter up until this moment. It's Kamui Woods and Midnight. So yeah, Midnight is on the back of Kamui Woods, and Midnight has a plan to stop Gigantomachia. And before that plan is explained, they see that Mount Lady is unable to hold Gigantomachia back anymore. And by hold him back, I mean Gigantomachia finally decides like, oh, this is a shorter way. Yeet! Just throws Mount Lady with ease, throws her to the back, without any type of hardship. He just throws her. And something interesting that is said, I'm not sure if this is specifically what Kamui Woods says, but he calls out to Mount Lady, but he doesn't call her by Mount Lady. He calls her by Takayama, which is her actual name. Which is interesting, because you could think oh, well, it's because they're on the same team, they know each other. But here's the thing, if we're thinking about this in a Japanese culture, it's very unusual to have someone be called out by what is assumed their first name, or even referring to them as their last name. And especially since you're in a hero setting, it seems more appropriate to call someone by their hero name. And I think this just shows that Kamui Woods does have a more personal connection to Mount Lady. And this is very important because Midnight even calls on Kamui Woods to be okay, don't lose your focus. The fact that Gigantomachia is on his way means that something in Jakku City went wrong. And so the plan that Midnight has, she doesn't straight up say what the plan is, but it's very implied what her plan is. As she uses her teeth to rip open her skin, it's actually her costume, which is something that I'm starting to realize now. And because of the anime, I didn't really notice this, but the tights that she wears on her body that is easily ripped is the same color as her skin tone, which means that it looks like she's ripping up her own skin when it's actually her costume. But that's besides the point. The point is, Midnight plans to use her quirk to make Gigantomachia fall to sleep, which is a very possible idea. We do know that he can go to sleep, but then we also know for a fact that he can wake up like as soon as he goes to sleep. So I'm not 100% sure how much that works, but at the very least what they're looking for is like a way to like buy time. And so while Midnight is planning on doing this while riding Kamui Woods, gets set on fire by Dobby. Yeah, apparently Dobby knows how to make kindling, and he just sets Kamui Woods on fire. But luckily enough, because Kamui Woods is a very good hero, he knows what he's doing. He uses his wood while he's on fire to send Midnight towards the face of Gigantomachia, and it looks like she's gonna do it. And they don't realize that, oh my gosh, the League is on his back, as you see these 3 little marbles coming at her, and then those marbles turn to rock, and then you have Compress that says don't take the heroes lightly. So Compress just threw a bunch of bricks and a bunch of like broken buildings at Midnight, which lead to an obvious result. She gets knocked to the ground hard, she begins bleeding badly, and then she comes to a realization that, oh yeah, we have to stop this. How am I gonna stop this? Majestic? No, he's way too big. So like I said, this is not the official translation, so something I may want to bring up is that even though I'm doing the review now, I may have something about My Hero Academia related either on Sunday or Monday if I get any information incorrect in this chapter. But a point that Midnight makes when she thinks about how to stop Gigantomachia, she brings up Majestic. And this is interesting because we do not know what Majestic's quirk is, but we do know who Majestic is. Majestic is the snake-haired lady that Yajiro's Momo interned under. So she may have a type of quirk that can incapacitate Gigantomachia. But that's beside the point. That's just something that I just wanted to touch on more, because with this idea, this ties into what she does next by contacting Momo. And also something to add to that is that before she contacts Momo, apparently she says that she's pathetic. And that kind of makes sense because she's a pro hero as well as the teacher of these students, and she may find it pathetic that now she has to put this burden on her students where all of the burden should rely on her as being their teacher and a pro hero. So that could imply why she's calling herself pathetic. And now you get to the best part of this chapter, in my opinion, as well as my facts, where we have Midnight contacting Momo by her hero named Creati. And while she's doing this, she's asking Momo if she understands everything that's happening. And she's like, oh yeah, I understand. Like due to Jiro's earphone jacks and Shoji's tentacles, yeah, we know everything that's going on. Midnight just lays it out to her. She's like, yeah, we gotta force him to go to sleep. I know that may be illegal, but I need you to create an aesthetic to put him to sleep. That's all you need to do. And while Midnight is telling Momo this, Momo is freaking out a little bit, and you also see villains in the background behind Midnight, and one of them calls out that she's mine, implying that they're going to attack Midnight. And while she's saying this, she's like, yeah, Midnight is saying, yeah, this may be difficult. And Midnight is also saying that, yeah, this may be difficult. oh gosh, so much blood. Yeah, this may be difficult. So if you can't do it, then give it to a pro hero and then leave and evacuate. I leave it to your judgment. As she turns around as the communications end. And while this is happening, we actually get flashbacks to the joint training arc where we saw Momo's development as a leader, where we see that even though she lost, she acted as a true leader of her team, as well as a comment made by Midnight that she will be a fine leader someday before the comms cut out. And then you have Momo just like, Midnight, Miss Midnight, what's going on? What's going on? So from this part of the chapter, it's implying that potentially Midnight got killed off by this villain. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that Midnight will be taken out that easily. I do not think that Midnight is going to die in this chapter as well as in this war arc. Unfortunately, she is technically not one of the main characters, So it's very likely that she could die, and I'm not having that at all. That's why I was a little mad at Compress. But at the very least, this is a point that pushes Momo to be more character driven and to have more character development and growth and establishing her character in total. So from here, Momo basically explains that to the other students that are there that they need to put Gigantomachia to sleep. But now she has the decision to make. Should I stay? Should I go? Should I fight or should I flee? And while she's thinking about this, you have scenes of Gigantomachia heading in their direction, the villains fighting in the forest, and she keeps thinking like, what should I do? What should you do? What should you do, Yaoyorozu? What should you do? Should you fight? Should you run? Should you run with your tails between your legs? What should you do? And then she just has a moment of where she calls out for Earphone Jack and Tentacle, where she begins to explain her plan. She's like, okay, she asks Jiro and Tentacle or Shoji to use their quirks to determine how far Gigantomachia is from here. Then she asks, like, my man, I need your help. Everyone hurry and get ready. So she's coming up with like a plan, and Jiro's like, yo, he's almost on the way. He's coming too fast. And she realizes, wait 1 second, he's slowing down. He's slowing down, and from that moment, we see Gigantomachia being slowed down by Mount Lady, literally being dragged across the ground on his, I believe it's his left leg, as she's being held to him by the bindings in the wood of Kamui Woods, as she makes a joke about the fact that, yo, I've never been this clingy towards a man since middle school. So from there, Jiro confirms that Gigantomachia has slowed down. Shoji, as in Tentacle, realizes that he's 25 meters away, potentially 25 meters away, and is bigger than Mount Lady. And we see Momo creating these canisters, which, from what we understand, is most likely anesthetic. It begins like handing it over to Ashido, to Kaminari, and from there she confirms what she wants to do. She says that she's going to fight. And she looks at the other heroes, and they're like, are you with me? And Kaminari, without hesitation. So not only do we see growth with Momo, but also with Kaminari, when he's like, yo, we are with you. Like, we're gonna help you. As Momo is like, all right, this is where we make our stand as the chapter ends. So, all in all, from what this chapter has shown us, Momo is ready. She is ready to be a hero. She is ready to be a leader. She is not the same Momo at the beginning of this story who is like so self-conscious about her abilities. That Momo who lost to Tokoyami in the sports festival. That young kid that was not confident in her leadership abilities and her abilities to be a hero. That girl is gone and is replaced with a more confident Momo who's like, all right, I have a plan. You either with me or you against me, because I'm the type of hero who is not going to stand back from a fight. So we get that confirmation of what type of hero Momo is going to be, as well as what potentially we're going to see in the next chapter. Overall, really did enjoy this chapter. But like I said, Momo is my favorite character, and just seeing the fact that we're seeing how far Momo has grown, and we've seen this like throughout the story, especially in the joint training arc, where we saw her leadership abilities at its finest, and it just makes sense that she's going to be the one that Midnight relies on to come up with a plan to stop Gigantomachia. And the thing is, Midnight gave her an opportunity to either flee or give it to the other pro heroes, but Momo decides to do it herself because she does view herself as a hero alongside her fellow classmates who join into her plan with little to no hesitation whatsoever, especially from Kaminari, who is normally the one who is like, yo, I'm not gonna do this, like, this is crazy. But we've seen his growth when he took on that other electric hero, and it's flowing into this story growth between Momo as well. So that's something that I really did enjoy. I also enjoyed a lot of like the cool confrontations that we saw in this chapter. They were small and brief, but we saw Cementos fighting off Geddon. We saw Redestro fighting off Edshot. We even saw a slight confrontation between Dabi and Kamui Woods and Mr. Compress and Midnight. So I thought that was really cool, and I can't wait for that to be animated. We also have the fact that, you know, we kind of get a scaling for how powerful Gigantomachia is, because he's able to throw a Mount Lady with ease. And even though Mount Lady may not be as big as Gigantomachia, and Gigantomachia is still taller, the fact that he was able to throw her with ease just shows how much of a walking disaster that he is. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. But yeah, it was very interesting. And I also even enjoyed how, you know, they Hirokoshi potentially killed off a teacher, potentially killed off Midnight. But I highly doubt that Midnight is dead, because if you look at the actual scene where the villain comes to attack her, the scene after that, she turns towards them as if she's ready to fight. So I do believe that she may make it out of that confrontation. It's not going to be unharmed, because, you know, she's bleeding a fair amount, since, you know, that normally happens when you have 3 big pieces of rock thrown at you. Normally when rocks are thrown or fall at you, you normally die, like Oburo. Yeah, but overall I really did enjoy this chapter. It's a very good chapter. I enjoyed a lot of the action that was in it, and I also just enjoyed the fact that we are focusing less on Deku and Bakugo and focusing on the entire war as a whole, because the war is being fought on 2 different fronts, directly in Jaku City, and then the second where the hospital was, and then the second in the villain's mansion. So it's good to see that. So most likely what's going to happen in this upcoming chapter, we're probably going to focus on Momo and the squad trying to take down or slow down Gigantomachia. And in reality, I do not think that they will be successful in completely stopping Gigantomachia, but I think that they will slow him down to a significant point, or even stop him completely. But I do think that potentially the villains will either have a way to wake him up, or he may wake up on his own by an order of Shigaraki within the next few chapters. But like I said, overall, really enjoyed this chapter. Hopefully you enjoyed this chapter as well as this review, as well as this new little setup that I have, and hopefully you're able to hear me very clearly. So leave a like on this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Big Blue Drew 97. Do all of that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in my next video. Goodbye. Ooh. Yeah, I need to come up with a better way to end these videos.